The morning sun stretched its golden fingers across the sleepy town of Meadowbrook, painting the dew-kissed grass with a shimmer of hope. Among the soft whispers of the breeze and the distant chirping of sparrows, a small pup blinked open his eyes for the very first time. His fur, the color of warm honey, glistened under the sunlight as he let out a tiny whimper. Beside him, his mother gave a gentle nudge, her eyes filled with both pride and worry. She knew the world outside their wooden shelter could be cruel. The pup, unaware of what fate held, wagged his tiny tail for the first time, a promise of love and loyalty that only a heart untouched by the world could make. Days turned into weeks, and the pup, now named Shadow, found a friend in Liam, a quiet boy who lived nearby. Liam had always been different from other kids. While others chased footballs and shouted across the fields, Liam found peace in silence, sketching under the old oak tree near the meadow. When he first saw the trembling pup hiding behind a stack of hay, something inside him shifted. He reached out, and Shadow, after a long pause, took one hesitant step forward. From that moment, two lonely souls found in each other a home they never knew they were missing. Shadow followed Liam everywhere, to the riverside, to the market, even to school gates where he would wait patiently until the bell rang. The world might have seen just a boy and his dog, but in truth, it was the beginning of a love deeper than words, the kind that could heal even the quietest of hearts. As seasons changed, Shadow grew from a clumsy little pup into a strong, graceful dog, yet his heart never changed. His loyalty remained as pure as the day he first met Liam. Every morning he'd trot beside the boy on their way to the small school at the end of the dirt road, his tail wagging proudly as if escorting a king. The townspeople often smiled watching them, the quiet boy and his golden shadow, inseparable even in the rain. Liam never spoke much, but Shadow understood him better than words ever could. When Liam's father raised his voice after another night of drinking, Shadow would gently rest his head on Liam's lap, silently promising, "I'm here. You're not alone." In that silence, their hearts spoke a language no one else could hear, but love as pure as theirs is often tested by time. One fateful evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, Liam's father decided to move to another city for work. "We can't take the dog," he said, his tone final, his eyes cold. Liam froze. The words pierced through him like shards of glass. Shadow wagged his tail, unaware of the storm that had just begun to brew. "He's family," Liam whispered, tears stinging his eyes. But his father only sighed, turning away. That night, while the world slept, Liam sat by Shadow's side under the oak tree where they had first met. The boy buried his face in Shadow's fur, whispering through broken sobs, "I'll find a way, I promise." Shadow simply licked the tears off his cheeks, tail still wagging, unaware that sometimes love's greatest test is learning to say goodbye. The night before the move, the air felt heavier than usual, as if even the stars above mourned the coming separation. Liam sat on the wooden porch steps, his small backpack resting beside him, packed for a future he didn't want. Shadow lay at his feet, his eyes wide and full of trust. Every now and then the dog would nudge Liam's hand with his nose, asking silently, "Why are you sad?" Liam tried to smile but couldn't. He wanted to scream, to beg his father to change his mind, but words failed him. The world around them seemed to fade. Only the rhythmic beating of two hearts remained, one human, one canine, both about to be broken in ways they didn't yet understand. When the clock struck midnight, Liam hugged Shadow tight, burying his face in the familiar warmth of his fur. "You'll wait for me, right?" he whispered, his voice trembling. Shadow responded with a soft whine, tail thumping weakly against the wooden floor. It was a promise, innocent, unbreakable, and destined to hurt. Morning came too soon. The truck engine roared outside, shattering the fragile stillness of their last night. Liam's father loaded the final box while his mother avoided eye contact, her heart breaking quietly too. Liam led Shadow to the old oak tree, their place, and knelt down. Stay here, boy. Please, I'll come back for you. I promise. He took off his red scarf and tied it gently around Shadow's neck, as if leaving a piece of himself behind. Shadow tilted his head, confused, tail still wagging. Because that's what love does, even when it doesn't understand. As the truck pulled away, Shadow chased it for as long as his legs could carry him, barking, crying until the road turned and dust swallowed the sight of the boy he loved most. And then, for the first time, the tail stopped wagging. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, yet the boy never came back. The oak tree stood silent witness to the changing skies, from golden dawns to stormy nights. But beneath its shadow, a lone figure waited. Shadow never left. Every morning, he would wake before the sun, stretch his weary legs, and run to the road where Liam's truck had disappeared. He'd sit there for hours, eyes fixed on the horizon, ears twitching at every sound of an approaching engine. Each time, disappointment broke him a little more. But still, his heart whispered, maybe today. When hunger gnawed at him, he'd wander into the village, where kind souls tossed him scraps of bread or leftovers. Yet no matter how far he roamed, he always returned to the oak tree, the place where love had once promised, forever. Seasons came and went. The villagers grew used to seeing him. The golden dog with the red scarf faded and torn, his once bright eyes now clouded with longing. Children tried to play with him, but Shadow's gaze was always somewhere far away, searching faces that weren't there. On cold nights, he'd curl up beneath the tree, pressing his nose to the scarf as if it still carried the boy's scent. When rain poured, he didn't move. When winter came, he simply waded through the snow, his tail still giving faint little wags, small sparks of hope that refused to die. Sometimes travelers stopped by the tree and spoke softly. He's been waiting for years. No one knew the full story, but everyone could feel it. The ache of a heart that remembered love more deeply than any human could. And yet, in the quietest moments, when the moon shone silver over the meadow, Shadow would close his eyes and dream. In his dreams, Liam was still that small boy with kind eyes and gentle hands. They would run together across the meadow, free and laughing, as if time itself had never moved. But when morning came, and the world returned to silence, Shadow would open his eyes to the empty road once again, and wait. Because that's what love does. It waits, even when the world has forgotten. 10 long years had passed since that morning when the truck had vanished down the dusty road. Meadowbrook was no longer the same. The small fields had turned into wide farmlands, the laughter of children replaced by the hum of machines and the whisper of old memories. But under the same oak tree, older now, its roots deep and strong, a golden dog still lay, frail and gray, wrapped in the quiet dignity of endless waiting. The red scarf, faded into a soft rose hue, still hung loosely around his neck. His eyes had lost their shine, but not their purpose. Every time the wind carried the scent of gasoline or the rumble of an engine, his ears would twitch, his tail would move just a little. Because hope, even when dying, refuses to let go. Miles away, Liam sat in the back seat of a train, looking out the window as the familiar countryside began to roll by. He was 22 now, taller, quieter, carrying the kind of sadness that only unspoken promises can leave behind. In his hand he held an old photograph, a boy and a dog beneath an oak tree, both smiling as if the world could never hurt them. He had kept that photo through every lonely year, through college, through heartbreak, through nights when he could almost hear Shadow's soft whimper in his dreams. Guilt had lived in his chest all this time. He had tried to come back sooner, but life, cruel, busy, unrelenting, had kept pulling him away. But now, nothing could stop him. "I'm coming home, Shadow," he whispered, voice trembling, eyes wet with memories that refused to fade. When Liam stepped off the train and walked through the old roads, everything felt smaller, like time itself had bent under the weight of nostalgia. The air smelled the same. The breeze carried the same scent of wild flowers, and his heart beat faster with every step. And then he saw it. The oak tree, standing tall against the fading sunset. Beneath it lay a familiar shape. His breath caught in his throat. He dropped his bag and ran. "Shadow!" he called, his voice cracking with a decade of love and regret. The old dog stirred. Slowly, painfully, Shadow lifted his head. His ears twitched, his cloudy eyes blinking, searching the air. And then, faintly, he heard the voice he had waited for all these years. The tail moved once. Then again. And when Liam fell to his knees, wrapping his arms around him, Shadow pressed his nose against the boy's chest and sighed. A long, trembling breath of peace. Liam sobbed, holding him close, whispering over and over, "I'm so sorry. I came back, boy. I came back." Shadow's breathing grew shallow, his eyes half closed, but his tail still wagged, slow and gentle, just as it had on the day they first met. The meadow was silent, the sky burning in hues of gold and crimson, as if nature itself paused to witness their reunion. Liam felt Shadow's heartbeat against his own, weak but steady. "You waited," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. Shadow's eyes met his one last time, and in that gaze was everything. Love, forgiveness, and the quiet joy of a soul finally home. The tail wagged once more, then fell still. The wind blew softly, carrying with it a red scarf that danced in the golden light before settling beside Liam's trembling hands. Under the oak tree, love had kept its promise, even beyond time, beyond words, beyond life itself. For hours after the sun had sunk beneath the horizon, Liam sat beneath the oak tree, the same place where their story had begun and ended. The world around him had turned quiet, but inside his chest, memories roared like waves. He could still feel Shadow's warmth fading from his arms, still hear the faint rhythm of that loyal heart that had waited far too long. The night was cold, and the stars flickered softly above, watching the boy and his fallen friend as though the heavens themselves bowed in silence. Liam buried his face into the red scarf, the one Shadow had guarded all these years, and for the first time in a decade, he let his tears fall freely. They weren't just tears of grief. They were tears of love, of guilt, of gratitude for a soul who had taught him what forever really meant. The next morning, Liam dug a small grave under the oak tree, where the roots intertwined with the soil like threads of memory. He placed Shadow's favorite stick beside him, the one they used to play fetch with when the world was simpler. Around it, he scattered wildflowers from the meadow, the same flowers that used to brush against Shadow's paws when he ran free. Then, he carved into the bark of the oak tree with trembling hands. "Here lies Shadow, the heart that never stopped waiting." For days, Liam stayed in Meadowbrook, unable to leave. Every sunrise brought the same ache, but slowly, a gentle calm began to take its place. He started repairing the small fence near the oak tree, painting it white. The villagers would often see him sitting there quietly, sometimes reading, sometimes just listening to the wind. A few children came by and asked about the dog with the red scarf. Liam smiled through the pain and told them, "He was my best friend, and he taught me that love never leaves. It just changes its form." The children began to leave flowers near the tree, whispering good mornings to Shadow before running off to play. What was once a lonely corner of the meadow slowly became a place of peace, a space where love continued to live through stories and laughter. As years passed, the oak tree grew stronger, its branches stretching wide as if shielding the memories beneath it. Liam built a small wooden bench nearby, engraved with 2 words: "Always waiting." Every time he sat there, he could almost feel a gentle nudge against his leg, a soft wag of a tail, a presence that never really left. On certain evenings, when the wind blew through the tall grass just right, it almost sounded like footsteps running, the faint rhythm of paws against the earth. And when Liam closed his eyes, he smiled, whispering into the breeze, "I know, boy. I'm here too." The people of Meadowbrook began calling it the Meadow of Loyalty. Travelers who passed through would stop to rest beneath the oak, reading the words carved into its bark. Some left collars of their own pets, some tied red ribbons to the branches, and others simply sat in silence feeling something greater than themselves, the eternal echo of a love that refused to die. And on nights when the moon hung full and bright, casting silver light over the meadow, a shadow still appeared near the old oak tree, a golden dog with a faded red scarf sitting quietly, tail wagging softly in the wind. Because love like that never ends. It just waits. Beneath the wagging tail. The wind carried the scent of wildflowers across the meadow as Liam sat on the wooden bench beneath the oak tree, notebook open in his hands. Years had passed since Shadow's last breath, yet the memories were sharper than ever, etched deep into the lines of his face and the rhythm of his heart. Each word he wrote felt like a whisper to his faithful friend, a way of keeping the bond alive beyond the limits of life itself. Every page was filled with the laughter, the tears, the stolen moments in the sunlight, the quiet nights under the stars, and the long years of waiting. As his pen danced across the paper, he realized something he had known all along. Shadow had not just been a dog, he had been a teacher, a mirror of loyalty, and the purest form of love that had ever touched his life. Liam titled his book, Tears Beneath the Wagging Tail. It was not just a story of a boy and his dog. It was a testament to the timelessness of love, of waiting, of hope, and of the kind of friendship that defies every boundary between species, time, and life itself. When the first copies were printed, Liam held one close to his chest, closing his eyes and imagining Shadow beside him, tail wagging faintly in the breeze. He knew that somewhere in the quiet corners of his heart, Shadow's spirit would always sit under the oak tree, watching, listening, and silently wagging his tail, approving, proud, and content. The book traveled far beyond Meadowbrook. Children read it and hugged their pets a little tighter. Adults wept quietly in cafes, remembering the unconditional love they had lost or overlooked. Letters poured in from strangers who felt as if Liam had captured something they had always been searching for but could never find. The simple, devastating truth that love is patient, fierce, and eternal. Some wrote about their own dogs, recounting moments of joy, loss, and undying loyalty. Others wrote about the friends and loved ones they had lost, finding solace in the story of Shadow, who had waited a decade for a boy who never forgot him. Liam read every letter, every story, feeling the warmth of Shadow's spirit reaching out through time and space, touching the hearts of people who would never meet them, yet understood perfectly. Even in his quietest moments, Liam returned to the oak tree. He had built a small library nearby where copies of his book rested alongside journals, drawings, and memories of the golden dog who had changed his life. The oak tree had become a sanctuary. On sunny days, families would come to sit beneath its shade, children's laughter mingling with the echoes of a tale that once wagged in joy and sorrow alike. Liam would smile, sitting on the bench, remembering the countless nights he had spent waiting with Shadow, the pain of separation, and the incomparable joy of reunion. Each time he looked at the horizon, he imagined Shadow running toward him, wagging his tail, just as he had always dreamed. As the years went by, Liam grew older, but the oak tree, the meadow, and Shadow's spirit remained unchanged. Travelers continued to visit, inspired by the story of unwavering loyalty. The town of Meadowbrook became a pilgrimage for those seeking hope, for those who had loved and lost, and for those who believed in the quiet power of a wagging tail. And at night, when the moonlight painted the meadow silver and the wind whispered through the branches, Liam could still hear it, the faint, steady wag of a tail, a reminder that Shadow's love had never truly left. It lived on in the hearts of all who read the book, in every letter written, in every story shared, and in the quiet, unspoken spaces of the world where love waits patiently for those who understand it. Liam closed his eyes, resting his head against the tree, a gentle smile forming on his lips. "You taught me everything, boy," he whispered. "About love, patience, loyalty, about waiting without giving up. I'll carry it all. Always." And in that soft silver glow, as the stars twinkled above and the meadow held its breath, he felt Shadow there beside him, wagging, smiling, and forever home. Because some love stories never end. They only grow, ripple, and touch hearts far beyond the limits of life, beneath a wagging tail. The night sky stretched endlessly above Meadowbrook, a vast canvas of deep indigo and silver stars. The meadow beneath the oak tree shimmered faintly in the soft glow of moonlight, each blade of grass dancing gently in the breeze. Liam walked slowly through the meadow, carrying a lantern that cast warm, trembling light across the earth. Every step felt sacred, a pilgrimage back to a memory that had never left him. He paused beneath the oak tree, now massive and majestic, its branches heavy with leaves that whispered secrets of countless seasons. There, beneath the thick roots, lay the small, simple memorial he had built for Shadow, the faded red scarf, the stick, the wildflowers. He knelt, tracing a hand along the carved words in the bark. "Here lies Shadow, the heart that never stopped waiting." The air felt alive. A soft rustling drew Liam's gaze upward, and for a fleeting moment the shadows beneath the oak branches shifted, as if stirred by an invisible presence. Liam's breath caught in his throat. The memories of Shadow, his warmth, his wagging tail, the gentle press of his nose against Liam's hand, seemed to emerge from the darkness itself. He closed his eyes, and in the silence, he could almost hear the faintest, rhythmic thump-thump of a tail against the earth. Liam's heart ached, sweetly and painfully, as he whispered into the moonlit air, "I miss you, boy, but I see you. I feel you." The breeze seemed to answer, brushing his hair and carrying with it the scent of honey-colored fur and sunlit meadows. He laughed through his tears, a sound both joyful and sorrowful. In that moment, the boundaries between memory and reality blurred. The golden pup who had waited years, who had loved unconditionally, who had taught him about devotion and hope. He was everywhere, in every flicker of the leaves, in every shimmer of starlight, in every quiet breath of the night. For hours, Liam stayed under the oak tree, recounting stories aloud to the empty meadow, imagining Shadow chasing after unseen rabbits, rolling in the grass, ears flopping and tail wagging endlessly. He read passages from his book, Tears Beneath the Wagging Tail, aloud so the meadow itself could hear. Every word felt like a conversation with the friend he had loved more than life itself. As he spoke, the moonlight shifted, painting the grass in silver, the oak in gold. Liam felt tears stream freely down his face, but this time they were not just of grief. They were tears of connection, of love preserved, of a bond that death could never sever. When the first light of dawn kissed the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and amber, Liam stood and placed his hand on the oak tree's trunk. "I'll carry your heart with me, Shadow," he said softly. "Every story, every memory, every tail wag, I'll share it with the world." As he walked away, leaving the lantern by the memorial, the meadow seemed to sigh, the leaves rustling in a way that felt like laughter. And in the quiet golden glow of early morning, a single leaf fell, tumbling to the earth like a gentle paw print, a reminder that some love never fades, that some tails never stop wagging, and that some friends never truly leave us. The first light of dawn painted Meadowbrook in gentle hues of pink and gold. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of wildflowers and dew-soaked grass. Liam walked slowly toward the oak tree, his footsteps soft against the earth, as if not to disturb the memories that had waited decades to be honored. The meadow was quiet, a sacred silence that seemed to hold the echoes of every wag, every bark, every soft nuzzle of a loyal heart that had once called this place home. He knelt beneath the massive roots, now thick and gnarled with age, tracing the carvings that told the story of a friendship unbroken by time or distance. In his hands, he held the final copy of Tears Beneath the Wagging Tail. The pages filled with letters, stories, and sketches sent from people all over the world. Each word was a testament to Shadow's impact, each drawing a reminder that love, even after loss, could still shine brighter than the sun. Liam placed the book gently beneath the oak, along with the faded red scarf and the stick Shadow had loved so dearly. He closed his eyes and whispered into the morning breeze, "We're home, boy. Always home." The wind stirred, brushing his hair like a soft paw against his cheek, a silent promise that Shadow's presence had never truly left. As the day unfolded, children came to the meadow, leaving flowers, ribbons, and messages for the dog who had taught the world about loyalty. Liam watched them, heart swelling with both sorrow and joy, realizing that Shadow had not just waited for him. He had waited for everyone, leaving behind a legacy that would continue to inspire generations. Families paused beneath the oak, reading the carvings and the stories left behind, feeling a warmth that transcended words. Somewhere in the rustle of leaves, in the golden shimmer of sunlight on the grass, Shadow's spirit seemed to laugh softly, wagging a tail that would never tire. Years passed, and Liam grew older, but the oak tree, the meadow, and the memories remained eternal. Travelers continued to visit, reading the book, leaving letters, and feeling the quiet presence of a friend who had never left. And on quiet mornings, when the light hit just right, and the wind carried the sweet scent of earth and flowers, Liam could almost hear it. The soft rhythm of paws on the grass, the gentle wag of a tail, the silent whisper of a heart that had loved beyond measure. Liam often sat on the wooden bench he had built nearby, head resting against the tree, tears of both grief and gratitude glistening in his eyes. "Thank you, boy," he whispered, "for waiting, for loving, for teaching me what forever really means." And in that moment, the oak tree seemed to hold its breath, the meadow shimmered in golden light, and the world felt impossibly large and impossibly small all at once, a place where love endured, where friendship never ended, and where a wagging tail could echo forever. Because some loves are eternal, some friendships never die, and some tails will never stop wagging.